Hello, my name is Natalie. Welcome to my channel Diamond Painting by Nat. Today is a very unusual video. It's some kind of nostalgic video. The matter is that my mom came back from Russia and she brought me a few cross-stitch kits that I did 20 years ago when I was back in Russia. Back then I was a student of the first courses of a university, and I got addicted to cross stitching, and I wanted to show you a few kits that I cross stitched, my first ones. Please do not be very strict to me, because I just started doing it. Nobody really taught me how to do that. I was figuring it out on my own. That is why all the completed kits that I'm going to show you are not really very accurate. I'm not going to show it to you in a chronological order, just the way they are. The first one is this one, Golden Autumn. It is a full counted cross-stitch kit, just regular cross stitches, not half, not French, just very simple work. I'm really very sorry for it being kind of dirty in a simple frame. The matter is that, again, I bead stitched it when cross stitched it when I was like, 19 years old, and now I'm almost 40, and since then it was hanging on the wall in Russia. Of course, it wasn't washed for 20 years, that is why it is not really very clean, and it was hanging without the glass. And as you can see, of course, the crosses are not very accurately made. Again, I was learning how to cross stitch. Here is, this is the original picture. Actually, this kit came with woolen threads, but I replaced them with just regular DMC threads. Wool was way too hard to bead stitch. Cross stitch, sorry. And on the other side was the pattern. No symbols, just colors. It is color related, and I'm pretty sure I made a lot of mistakes. So this is the first one. This is the next. It is really very small picture. Also one of my first ones. You can see inaccuracy in there as well, but from far away it looks more or less okay. Of course, 20 years later, I do not remember the size of this bead stitch, cross stitch kit, but this one is 18 by 28 centimeters. It is super tiny. So if this one is only 18 by 28 centimeters, you can imagine how tiny this one is, like twice smaller than that. The next two that I'm going to show you are a little bit different from the previous kits, because this is not a counted cross stitch. This is embroidery. The same thing. This is my very first embroidery that I ever made. On a pillowcase. This is a pillowcase, actually. Just the first letter that I saw it in some magazine, a pattern, so I drew it on the pillowcase and embroidered it. Here it is, letter A. No meaning why A, just the first one that I saw, decided to try. And back then, actually, this one was my, I did it before the kits that I showed you. First, I tried embroidery, and only after embroidery, I tried cross stitching. I don't know why, I thought that embroidery is much easier, although it's not true. Embroidery is more, I think, complicated than cross stitching. This is my second embroidery on the tablecloth. Here is something Christmas related, I would say, pine cones or something like that. Also not very accurate, but again, it's been in Russia for 20 years. Nobody touched it for 20 years. That's why, of course, it's not very well preserved. Here it is. And after actually completing these two, the pine cones and the flower, and what did I show you? And the letter A, that's it. I stopped doing it and I switched to cross stitching. And actually, my first cross stitching was not just a regular counted cross stitch. It was so-called Bulgarian cross. I have never even heard of that. We had this weird towels in Russia back from USSR, and I wanted to start cross stitching. And I just took this towel because it has, you know, those squares, just for training purposes. And not knowing even for myself, apparently, sorry, got interrupted. So not knowing even for myself, I began to do this Bulgarian stitch, as my mom explained to me. Apparently, of course, they're not very accurate. And at first now looking at it 20 years later, I thought that that was the back side. Apparently, no, the back side looks even worse. This is the front, but it is done like in the shape of the snowflake, if you can see it. Of course, not very inaccurate, but whatever. I was practicing. So after embroidery, I tried this very cross stitch on the towel. This is the first one, poppy seed or whatever it is, poppy seed flower, as far as I understand. And after the poppy seed flower, I did another counted cross stitch kit, counted cross stitch image. It's for my dad. It says here in Russian to daddy. My dad is a PE teacher. He used to be a PE teacher, so it was relevant to what I was doing, and maybe for his birthday, present for his birthday, I don't remember. But again, on the paper towel, practicing plus a gift, also very inaccurate. My first stitches, that's how it looks. And only after I cross-stitched these towels, I began to cross-stitch just regular counted cross-stitch kits like this. And my last counted cross-stitch kit that I started in Russia, but I finished here in the United States back in 2014, maybe even earlier than that, I don't remember. No, I think earlier, like in 2010, I guess, was this one. Of course, it is more complicated than the previous ones that you saw. It uses different techniques, like half cross stitches, back stitches, French knots, regular crosses, full crosses, I think they're called. I don't already remember how they're called. And the unicorn, I think it was called the Princess and the Unicorn. That's how it looks. And that was my last counted cross stitch kit. Then I switched to beaded cross stitch kits. This is the one of the latest ones, beaded cross stitch kit on a blank canvas that I completed. This is another one. Now I'm working on a custom. Didn't really be stitched a lot, maybe like only 3 pages. That's how it looks. So now I am fully bead cross stitching. I do not use threads anymore. And I also want to show you a few patterns that my mom brought me from Russia. Again, when I just started cross stitching, I was really very addicted to it. I went to a store and they had a lot of patterns like this. And I bought a lot. All of them the majority of them are color related, and only now I understand how hard it is to cross stitch color related patterns. I don't think I will ever cross stitch it because it's pretty hard. There are a lot of similar shades. I tried once. It is really very hard, although the picture itself, the image itself, is very beautiful. So I would like to show you a few of the patterns that we bought. This one, pink flamingos. Another one, you know, I like houses. Also very hard to bead stitch or cross stitch. Also a lot of similar shades. So I don't think I will ever do that. This one, possibly I will complete it. Why? Because this is the original picture. It has both color related pattern on the one side and as symbolic, if it is possible to say pattern on the other side. So this one is possible to bead stitch or cross stitch. I might do it one day, maybe when I'm retired or something. This one is a very simple one. I don't even understand why I would buy it. Most likely I was giving it as a gift or something, because I would buy it, especially back then when I was like 19 years old. I didn't think about children or anything. So this one is also color related, but colors are pretty bright. Not many shades of the same color, so although, yeah, so most likely I will either bead stitch it or cross stitch it. And one more, really very beautiful. Also, I'm really very happy because it is color related. You can see it here, and it has symbols in the back. So also possible for me to either bead stitch it or even cross stitch it. And this is me 20 years ago. Well, a little bit less than that. It's like 2010, I guess, when I was cross stitching all those kids. Now I am much older. Here I'm like 20 something. I don't remember how old I am. Now I'm almost 40. And my mom also brought me a lot of kits from Russia. And I will show it to you in my next video, so stay tuned.